Hola, señoras y señores. Mi nombre es Bruce y hablamos de México y Ecuador y mates en el Azteca. Hey, everybody, I'm Bruce Marshall. It's time to talk about Tuesday KO round action at the Azteca in Mexico City as Mexico plays host to Ecuador in a round of 32 matchup. And man, we have had some great action thus far in the KO round. 4 matches on Sunday and Monday. 2 of them went to penalty kicks. 2 others were decided in added time. So we've been going right down to the wire here with some great action. I expect more of it on Tuesday, especially this nightcap. This will be the last game on a Tuesday, kicking off 9 p.m. Eastern time down in Mexico City. First of all, though, a couple of quick housekeeping reminders. As always, don't forget, click that subscribe button on your screen right there and make sure you can get all of our Wager Talk TV videos just by clicking that subscribe screen there. Also, don't forget World Cup All Access Pass for me. Reduced price, $99. That's our price for the rest of the World Cup. All my picks through the final July 19th at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. We've had a pretty good run in the World Cup. Started off the KO round pretty well. And remember, special price reduced on my World Cup All Access Pack, just $99 through the rest of the World Cup. Okay, let's talk about this matchup on Tuesday night in Mexico City. And man, this is looking pretty interesting because Mexico, a lot of people think, could be making some serious noise in the tournament here, especially since they are playing at home here in the KO round. And as you can see, the prices as they go across the crawl on the bottom of the screen there. Ecuador comes in here. Talk about Ecuador more in a second, but had to really scramble to get eligible for the KO round. Needed 3 points in that final group match against Germany, and by golly, they got it in dramatic fashion, 2-1 win. So here Ecuador is in the round of 32. Prices, as you see at the bottom of the screen there. These are all on 90 minutes, by the way. Remember, 90-minute prices on these on the three-way. Mexico, the favorite there, but there's still a slight plus price, but they are the favorite in the game at plus 120. Ecuador plus 290. The draw price at plus 190. So a lot of people think this could be sort of a tense game there. You see the total there kind of low, and that figures as well at 1.5 on the over price at 160, minus 160 on the under at plus 130. And some other propositions there as well. We'll get to those in a second. First of all, what about this matchup? And interesting here, right off the top, there's 2 things to mention here. As far as drawing a third place team for one of the third place teams for a group winner. I think Ecuador was one of the last teams a group winner would want to draw. Now, I know they had to scramble to get eligible for the KO phase, and they needed that late goal by Plato to get past Germany 2-1 last week. But don't forget, they had played extremely well, just weren't rewarded with goals before that. Hit the woodwork 4 times across their first 2 games. Eli Room from Curacao had one of the greatest games a goalie has ever had in the second match, keeping that one at 0-0. A couple of goals that looked like a 2-0, 3-0 sort of an Ecuador win. They also hit the post in that game, hit the post 3 times in the opener against Ivory Coast, and lost that game in added time in a game they sort of controlled all the way. Put it all together and came back from 1-0 down and a goal that probably shouldn't have been allowed against Germany, and won that match. So here they are. And I think maybe along with Senegal, these are third place teams you'd probably want to avoid. There's one other factor here that I think we've got to mention for Mexico, which is usually has a real advantage playing in Mexico City at the altitude there. And they played one other group game in Mexico in Guadalajara, which is also at altitude. Monterrey is the one that's a little bit lower altitude of those 3 Mexican sites. But over 7,000 feet at the Azteca, that's usually a real problem for visiting sides. But this is one side where that shouldn't be a factor because Ecuador plays games in Quito, in Ecuador, which is at over 9,000 feet. There's only one capital in the world that is higher elevation, and that's in La Paz in nearby Bolivia. And that's a big advantage for Bolivia when it plays a home game in the CONMEBOL region. But over 9,000 feet in Quito, where Ecuador plays its games, and the altitude should not be a factor here for Ecuador. So that's one advantage that Mexico usually has, but doesn't in this matchup against Ecuador. What about Ecuador coming in and defensively, this was one of the best defensive records that we saw in the CONMEBOL qualifying. They were very, very tough on the rear guard there. And Hernan Galindo, the goalie, is 39 years old. He's been very tough, but it's also that defense, very well organized. Sebastian Becachese, the coach, really has these guys organized on the defensive end there. They are very tough to break down. And I'm not sure Mexico is going to be able to do much. Now, the problem Ecuador has had, we've mentioned about scoring, and that was also a problem in the qualifiers too. They didn't score a lot of goals. They scored enough to get through, but they are a very grinding side here that can wear you down with their defense and hope to peg you back, nick you with a goal the other way. And that's basically what they tried to do. We did see Angulo score a really nice goal from Sunderland. He had transferred from Anderlecht mid-season this past year at the transfer window. Beautiful goal to get them on the board against Germany. That was their first goal of the World Cup after hitting the post, hitting the woodwork 4 times. And then Plata with the winning goal from Flamengo and that scramble in the box there to get Ecuador over the line against Germany. They don't score a lot of goals, but they're very tough to score against. This is a very hard team to break down. And I think it's going to be very tough for Mexico to do that. I wasn't all that impressed by Mexico, at least in the first couple of matches. And most fans of Mexico, they really didn't start warming up to the side until that game, the friendly right in front of the World Cup against Serbia, where they put 5 past the Serbs. Until that point, they hadn't really been sure what Mexico was going to offer. They didn't have to go through qualifying like most teams do as one of the hosts of the tournament. So there were some questions at home about what Mexico could do, but they did bring back Javier Aguirre, head coach, who knows what he's doing. He's been in that role before. He's got them, again, supremely organized. They did not allow a goal in the first 3 group matches there. Raul Rangel in goal instead of Memo Ochoa, but Ochoa is still on the side. The 40-year-old, that was one of the great sights of the first round when he actually got in the match against the Czechs late. That means he's now played in 6 World Cups. He's sort of the spiritual leader of the side. So that was a nice thing. But Rangel is their top goalie, and they didn't allow a goal in group play. The group I thought was sort of suspect, though. And if you take a look back, I mean, somebody had to finish second in the group. It ended up being South Africa, but the Czechs and the South Koreans, very disappointing. And South Korea's coach has already left, and I think might be happening with the Czechs as well. Somebody had to finish second in this group, and it was South Africa, and they were already out of the round of 32. So I'm still not sure what Mexico has beaten yet and what they've shown. Now, Quiñones is an interesting threat, though, because he was one of the top scorers in the Saudi League this past year. 33 goals in the Saudi League, and he's already scored a couple of times for Mexico in the tournament. Jimenez, you see, Fulham fans might have seen him in the past. Raul Jimenez, he's also scored in the World Cup thus far, although the offense really hasn't been that smooth for Mexico. We saw a little bit in the second half of that game against the Czechs when they already had the group zone up, and the Czechs, we know what was happening with them. So I'm not too sure Mexico is going to be able just to walk through Ecuador. I think this is going to be a very, very tough game. What are we looking at here? You can see some of the props there on the bottom of the screen. There's some goal scorer numbers there. I don't know that anybody's going to score a goal here, whether it be Quiñones, Jimenez, Valencia, whoever it is for Angulo for Ecuador. I think this could possibly be a 0-0 into extra time on 90 minutes. So I could see the under, even though 1.5 goals is not a big total. I might look that way, and you're getting a plus price on the under. I could see this one at 0-0. There's a correct score at 0-0, plus 450 if you want to take a flyer on something like that. I might also just go for the draw at plus 190. I think that might be worth a look as well. But under would certainly be my first call, because I'm not sure we're going to see a goal here. And if somebody gets one, that might be enough to do it. Mexico has a long unbeaten string at home. They are very tough to beat there. But normally it's against lesser sides from CONCACAF region and all. They've been favored in all those games too. I know they're a favorite here, but Ecuador is a tougher nut to crack than some of these teams that Mexico has been playing. This is going to be a very, very tough game. I am not sure who's going to win. I could see it as a 90-minute draw. I could see it at 0-0, and I could see it under 1.5 goals. We'll see what happens. Okay, we'll be back later in the week to take a look at more World Cup action. Until then, don't forget, if you got a comment on the comment box on the screen there, make sure to fill that out. Send it along to me. Love to hear from you. And don't forget our special offers we've got going. My special World Cup All Access Pass, all my picks the rest of the World Cup, reduced now down to $99. Okay, so until next time with more soccer World Cup action coming up, that's a goodbye from me.